Hello, I'm Dan, this is Tim, and we run MakeBuild. Thank you. MakeBuild is a London-based design studio that works with ambitious marketing teams focused on delivering business impact. We design, build, and optimize, and today we're going to talk about Lisa.
This is Lisa. She is head of web at a B2B SaaS company called Tracker. They make time tracking software, which is marketed to growing companies and enterprises. And this is the website that Lisa manages. So Lisa is under pressure to boost the growth of her website. She has got a pretty good website, it's operating well, working day to day, but the powers that be want more traffic, more engagement, and of course, better conversions. So hands up in the room if any of you are managing a site like this, either for yourself, your company, or a client, B2B SaaS site. I thought so. Well, Lisa has an issue, which is she needs to boost growth, but she just doesn't know where to start. So if, like Lisa, you're under pressure to boost growth on your website, we're here with 20 tried and tested tactics to boost growth on your website. So listen up, it's going to be pretty fast-paced. We've got 20 ideas to get through. Hopefully, you'll learn something new. So the first ideas we're going to cover are all about traffic. So by traffic, we just mean getting more people onto the site, boosting the number of visitors. So idea number one is about creating competitor comparison pages. So these are dedicated pages on your website that compare your product to a competitor. It's pretty common for people to search A versus B when they're evaluating a product, a software. And if you have pages dedicated to that, Tracker versus Toggle, Tracker versus Asana, you can capture some of that traffic and boost the number of visitors. Writing a list of frequently asked questions for your site. I'm sure most of you in the room have FAQs on your website. But have you considered why? So FAQs are a great resource for your users, great way to get information in front of them, but it's also an excellent way to load up your website with keywords, extra content, which Google can scrape, and that can boost your ranking, get more traffic to your site. On the same theme, we can add structured data to our FAQs. This is called schema, and as well as human-readable content on your website, you can add structured data, which can be scanned by a search engine. So the benefit of structured data is that it makes it easier for Google to read your site, which can boost your rankings. And your website, you might even get populated in one of these little FAQ boxes that appears on Google, and again, boosting traffic. Marketers are often sitting on a wealth of content or expertise related to their industry or business. And by proactively combining that knowledge into something like a resource center, you can give something really valuable to your users. How does it boost traffic? Well, with a new destination, rather than just a blog or something like that, a resource center, you've got a few options. You can run paid ads, you can run social campaigns, it's shareable, and once again, you're adding more content to the site, which can help the Google rankings and boost visitors. If you're releasing some new features in your product, pretty common thing for a SaaS company to do is to trickle those features out one by one. They might launch stuff on social, but you should consider running a launch campaign. So we do a lot of these for clients, building campaign pages that bundle up ideas into a launch week campaign. And the reason it's great for boosting traffic is it creates a lot of buzz around a product. So bundle ideas together. You can create a buzz, which can drive inbound traffic. It's shareable, and often it gets picked up by something like Product Hunt or a Reddit page, and you can have a real surge in traffic. Open graph images, for those that don't know, are the little thumbnails that get displayed when you share your site on Twitter, social, Slack. Picture speaks 1,000 words, we know that, and an open graph image is no exception. So if you've done the work, that means your site is being shared, people are sharing it, you want as many people as possible to click those links. So adding a nice thumbnail can be a great way to boost traffic. But doing it on every page can be a lot of work, so you can look at tools like Banner Bear and others to create dynamic open graph images. And the last traffic boosting idea for today is about creating location-specific landing pages. So Google can prioritize locally relevant results in your search. So a really quick win is to just duplicate some of your landing pages, make them relevant to your locations, and that way you can take advantage of the algorithm, boost your search ranking.
Okay, that was category 1. Category 2, engagement. So we're talking about anything that will help increase time on site, session duration, number of pages visited. Let's go on to the first idea. Number 8, so ROI calculators. Hands up if anyone's ever built an ROI calculator or been asked to. Yes, you know this. ROI calculators are those forms that gather information from your users, churn them around, and then spit out a useful piece of data that they can use to get buy-in for your product or service internally. They're a great way to engage a user because you're actually asking them to do something, interacting with the page, and it's also a great way to grab an email address, potentially convert them into a customer. Idea number 9, sticky bar at the top of your website, this bright orange thing over here. Many of you will have seen these. I expect many of you will have built them. We find that these are a great way to drive engagement to time-sensitive content or specific offers, because users typically scan a page, F pattern, kind of down from top to bottom. Something at the top that interrupts their flow is a great way to grab attention and continue driving users through to interesting content. Idea number 10, exit intent pop-up. So these pop up when it looks like you're going to leave the page, maybe when your browser cursor moves to the edge of the viewport or onto another tab. This thing appears and lures you back in with an interesting offer or a lead magnet. These are a little bit annoying, I'll be the first to admit, but they do work quite well, because by presenting somebody with that special offer at the time that they're about to disappear, it can help you recover that lost lead into a conversion, or at least make them stick around for a bit longer and engage with your content. Idea number 11, like most of you, I hate it when a website takes more than about 0.1 seconds to load. So whatever you can do to boost these numbers, in particular performance, is usually a really great way to boost engagement. Because by doing so, you're going to reduce the number of people bouncing off your site when they get frustrated, cause them to stick around, and hopefully convert. Idea number 12, mega menu up at the top of the screen. Instead of just a load of lists of links, why not include an image, text, or both as a preview as to what kind of content they can expect when they click through. Again, images paint 1,000 words or whatever, so it allows you to encourage them to click, engage with more of your site, and spend more time browsing your content. Idea number 13, corner pop-ups. So slightly less annoying than a full screen exit modal. These little widgets sit in the bottom right or the bottom left. We see this trend a lot with some of our clients where they want to nudge people towards booking a demo, having a call, or maybe just consuming a piece of content. So these are a really great way to increase engagement also.
Cool. So we're over halfway through the ideas. Hopefully you've already found something that might be new or different, or a reminder of something you can try on your site. Bear with us, we're going to talk about conversions next. So conversions is about making sure a user takes a specific action on your site. It might be completing a form, it might be making a purchase. So this is the one that everyone cares about. How can we boost conversions? Trust marks on your website, awards, badges, that kind of thing are a really great way to build trust in your product. If you can convince users of your authority, it's a great way to encourage them to interact with a conversion. So you put these elements at key conversion points. In your hero is an obvious one, but next to buttons, forms, and it can boost conversions. Another way to build trust is showing that real humans are using your product. So testimonials and real customer quotes is really the best way to allay people's fears and worries and make them realize that other people like me are using the product. Great way to boost conversions. A lead magnet is something that is just so enticing for your visitors, they have to interact with it. And most of our customers that we work with have got a piece of content, a video, an article that is just driving loads of interaction with the site. It's really enticing, it's really great, and people love it. And if you've got a piece of content like that, rather than giving it away for free, you can gate it behind a form and capture people's email addresses. It's pretty common practice. And the way that this boosts conversions is you can then re-engage them. So you've got that email address, you can send them on an engagement path. Idea 17. capturing user intent. So it's quite difficult to make users confident that your product is going to solve their need. And ultimately, before they're going to go through any conversion, they need to be really, really confident. But if you've been presented a list of common use cases or a list that's a use case that's really relevant to you as a user, you've checked a box or pressed a button, you're going to be really kind of confident that this is going to solve your problem. And it means the rest of that conversion journey is much more likely to complete. Idea 18. So once a user's landed on your site and engaged with your content, they're ready to convert. We've got them all the way to a form. We want to make it as simple as possible for them to complete that form. We don't want any blockers. So one way to do that is to make the page much simpler by making a minimal nav bar. Lots of people do this. Amazon does it on the checkout page. They have a minimal nav with less distractions when you're at the point of conversion. And it's a great, easy, quick win to boost conversions. Similar idea, idea 19, you can actually simplify the form that's driving the conversion itself. So this can be a visual simplification. You can reduce the styling, make it cleaner, or you can just reduce the number of fields and questions that you're asking. It's great. You need to capture user information, but the easier you can make that for users, the more likely it is to convert. And idea 20, we're here. Show a product, an image of your product behind or next to your form. So whether this is a physical product, you might be an e-commerce or a SaaS product. The reason this works is that you're adding context for users. So when you get to this point, they've gone through all this journey on your website, and you want to make them feel like they're really close to that final solution. And showing the end product is just that reminder that I'm so close to getting to the solution that's going to solve my problem. It can help boost conversions. So there we have it. That is 20 ideas that are going to boost the growth of Lisa's website. So this is awesome. We've got loads of ideas. I'm going to get ready to start building these now.
Okay, start right there, Tim. Step away from Webflow Designer 1 second. Before we go any further, I think I've got a few questions about this approach. I don't think we can just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. I see 3 issues. Firstly, relevance. For somebody like Lisa running a B2B SaaS startup, how do we know that all of these ideas, or any of them, are relevant? Secondly, prioritization. I don't think she's got an unlimited budget or a massive team to implement all of these ideas. So I want to know which one should we work on first. And then lastly, results. Some of these might be great. Some of them might be rubbish. They might actually damage conversion, engagement, or traffic. I don't think we've tested these yet, right?
Okay, you're right. So how do we decide which of these ideas is right for Lisa?
Okay, well, our talk is called 20 Tactics to Boost Your Website's Growth. But maybe it should have been called this, because it's not just about the tactics. In our view, it's about finding the right, most relevant ideas, shortlisting them, and then measuring them. But before we go into all of that, I think it's worth understanding a little bit more about the studio.
Yeah. So MakeBuild is a design studio, as Dan introduced us. We love experimenting, making, building, tinkering with sites. It's in the name, MakeBuild. But we're also huge advocates of design thinking. So design thinking is using user-centered design methodologies to make decisions in your design processes. And how that came about was that we both spent years and years in the agency world in London working in big global agencies on huge products. So my background was working on banking apps for big high street banks. Dan's been working in the same kind of stuff, working with TV brands and all sorts. And during that time, we really learned the power of user-centered design. We saw how user-centered thinking can help drive business decision-making. So over the years of MakeBuild, we've injected that way of thinking into all the work we do. So we kind of got these 2 parts of MakeBuild. There's the design thinking part, where we think about users and use that to drive business decision-making. And then there's experimentation, where we rapidly hack stuff together using low-code tools to prove our ideas. And why this is relevant is that we apply this way of thinking not only to our web design and branding, but also growth and CRO practices. So let's have a look at how you can use this way of thinking to boost the growth of a website.
Okay, so back to Lisa and her website Tracker. As we said, it's a nice-looking website, but she wants to drive growth. So I asked a few questions. Relevance. How do we find ideas that are actually relevant for Lisa? Prioritization. How do we put them in order and make sure we're allocating our resources effectively? And thirdly, results. How do you know which of those ideas that you found on the internet or wherever are actually going to be most effective and drive growth?
Or in a presentation.
Well, yeah, you're going to find out. Well, at MakeBuild, we have a 3-step process. We call it our HOP framework. We start by hunting for ideas. This is about finding the right ideas for each client. We put the ideas in order, deciding which ones to try first, and then we prove the ideas through experimentation.
So let's guide you through how this process works so you can try it yourself. So we'll start with H, which is hunting for ideas. So as we saw with Lisa, there's no guarantee that any old growth hack will work. We can't just throw ideas at the wall. So the first step is for us to find the right ideas for Lisa's business. And the way we do this is through a collaborative workshop with clients. It's a 2-part workshop. So the first part is about seeking inspiration. So a bit like we showed you earlier, looking for lots and lots of ideas that we could try. And the second step is putting ourselves in our customers' shoes to map out their journey and find the right ideas for them. So in step 1, we showed part 1 of the presentation, we showed you 20 ideas. But of course, there's hundreds or thousands of possible tactics you can use to drive growth on a website. There's no exhaustive list out there that I'm aware of. So in the early stage, how do you find as many ideas as possible and get inspired of different tactics you can use for growth? Stick with us on our hunt metaphor for a moment. Just like in nature, sometimes you have to venture out into the wilderness to find good ideas. It's not enough to just look at the same ideas floating around in your head or whatever's coming up on Twitter that day. So we do something that we call a website safari with our clients. Here's how it works. Website safari is, like we said earlier, a collaborative process. So we bring stakeholders from the client into the room. This is the head of web, the marketers, but also the sales team, the directors, anyone who's got a stake in the website. And we put on the wall examples of other websites. So these might be competitors, but they might just be really nice examples of design. They might be sort of tangential competitors. They might probably about 15 to 20 websites here. And we spend an hour going through all of them, noting down what we like, what we don't like, but most importantly, where can we spot some sort of tactic that might be trying to boost conversions or growth. We come back to Basecamp and share all the ideas together. And at this point, they don't even have to be super relevant, but the point is we've got a room full of talented people who know the customer, who are very inspired. Step 2 is about putting ourselves in the customer's shoes. Hands up if you've done some journey mapping, customer journey mapping before. Good. So we use a customer journey mapping process here, but the difference is that it's got a lens of growth on it. So we use customer journey mapping to identify ideas and areas where we can boost growth on an existing website. So step 1 of any journey mapping is to think about the customer. Most organizations have lots of customer profiles. In this instance, we're going to look at one. This is David. He's head of program management at a big international agency. He's interested in Tracker. And I'm going to walk you through how the journey mapping process works to find growth hacks, growth ideas. So David's customer journey goes something like this, and I'm going to go super fast-paced. Of course, we'd go in more detail in real life. So David's interested in Tracker. He's seen a paid ad on social. He's talking about a specific feature of Tracker, this new AI time tracking, automated time tracking feature. He's interested. He clicks the ad. He gets taken to the homepage of the Tracker website. It's great. But he's interested in a specific feature, so he's clicking around, reading content. Ultimately, he moves from the homepage to a blog post about that new feature launch. And he's interested, but he leaves the site after that. He then shares the site with some of his team. He's saying, this looks great. They all come back into the homepage because he's shared a link. So they're thinking, okay, we'll look at this. We'll look at the site. Sounds good. After that, at the conversion point, the team agrees that this is a good tool for them. So David's got to build a business case that he can take to his boss. So he comes back to the site, he's on the homepage again, he's reading case studies, he's trying to get numbers and stats to build a case for this, and eventually he books a demo. It's a pretty common journey for a SaaS website. Someone dipping in and out of the site, reading content, building a business case, booking a demo. It's pretty timeless, it happens all the time. So how can we use this way of thinking to identify opportunities for growth? So once we've got a customer journey mapped out, the next step is to look at the opportunities column in our journey map And I'll show you one example here. So do you remember at the beginning of the journey, we had David saw a paid ad on social for an AI time tracking feature, and he ended up on the home page. That feels like a misstep here. There's a great opportunity relevant to David's journey. Maybe we could send him to a landing page specifically about that product. We could have done a launch week, or maybe we could just stick an announcement bar there so that when he gets to the home page, we can direct him down a path to that specific content. So there we go. We've got an idea for a hack we can add to the website that's relevant to David's journey. So we're fairly confident that if he followed that path, the announcement bar is going to help him. If you go through that process on the whole journey, you might have 5, 6, 7 ideas at the end of it. So we've gone from 20 down to 5. So here we are. We've got 5 ideas: an exit intent pop-up, social proof, an announcement bar. And we're quietly confident that these are the right ideas for Tracker because they're rooted in a customer journey. So there we go. We've got 5 ideas. We can get building now.
Tim, stop again. 5 ideas, still quite a lot. Haven't got a limited budget. We need to prioritize. So I think the next step is to put these in order. So step 2, let's put these ideas in order. So how do you prioritize? Sorry, time for another acronym. ICE is an acronym used in this space a lot. Impact, confidence, and ease. So let's spend a few minutes running through each of the ideas, giving them a score, and then the higher up their list they are, the greater confidence we have that they're going to be a good idea and the first one that we'll run with. So what do impact, confidence, and ease mean? Real quick. Impact, if this idea is done right, what's the expected business impact of implementing this idea? Greater impact, higher score. Confidence, how do we know that this idea is going to work for us? Okay, it would be great if we had a treasure trove of data from every website on the internet to say that removing this field will definitely boost conversions or whatever. We don't have that. So what I say I think would be a good step here is to speak to our client and understand what things have they tried that works before, what other clients do we have that are similar, and maybe we can extrapolate some useful info from that. So confidence, the more confident we are, the higher the score. And then ease, if you're implementing this yourself, how long is it going to take you? Is it a really complex build with tons of new components, or is it fairly quick? The quicker, simpler, and easier it is to build, the higher the ease score. So let's add our ideas to a little table, and we can start scoring them. Let's start with that announcement bar idea. So impact, kind of low. We don't think we're going to generate a lot of revenue, business impact from this idea, so let's give it a 1 out of 3. Confidence, we've used announcement bars before with this client. Lisa loves an announcement bar. She says it always gets a lot of clicks, so 3 out of 3. And then ease, we've actually got a component in Webflow ready to go, just have to change the content, so 3 out of 3. 7 out of 9, pretty good. Okay, we can repeat this process for each of the ideas and see what the scores are looking like, and then we can finally reorder them based on the score, and announcement bar is the winner with 7 out of 9.
Okay, so we've got our short list of relevant ideas. They're prioritized. We know which one's got the highest score. Finally, we can build it.
Almost, Tim. We could roll these out to all of our users right away, but just to be sure that they're going to work, I think we should test them to make sure they're having a positive impact. So, final step of the process, we're nearly there. P, prove your ideas through experimentation. Okay, I won't go into tons of detail here. This could be a whole conference in itself, and I'm sure there are conferences dedicated to testing and experimentation. But in summary, it's not as detailed or as crazy, scary as it sounds. Experimentation is pretty simple. It's about writing a hypothesis, running an experiment, and then deciding whether to roll that idea out or not. You start by writing a hypothesis. Hypothesis is just science speak for a prediction, a positive movement that we're hoping to see in either traffic, engagement, or conversion. For our announcement bar idea, we could create a hypothesis like this, that adding an announcement bar will increase webinar views. And webinar views are important because, having spoken to Lisa, we know that 90% of customers who watch a webinar book a demo. That's pretty positive. Okay, so you've got your hypothesis. Now it's time for step 2, running your experiment. Let's put our idea in front of a subset of users to see how they respond. You don't want to put it in front of all of your users, just in case the idea is trash. Let's put it in front of some and see how it works. So to run experiments, you're going to use a web experimentation tool more often than not. There are tons out there. Shout out Webflow Optimize. They basically all do a similar thing with some added bells and whistles, but it's basically about creating maybe 2+ page variants and then having a metric that we can track. So for example, let's see how many people click to book a demo for variant A versus variant B. Webflow Optimize is really solid, and we've been testing it for a few weeks now with the team. One of the best things about it is you don't have to add apps or scripts, and also it'll use their crazy AI optimize feature to get a response and a result out of the test ASAP. Okay, so here's how our experiment's going to work. We've got variant A, the control, with a link to that webinar further down the page. We've got variant B with our announcement bar up top, linking straight through to the webinar view page. Okay, lastly, we're going to decide and repeat. Review the results and see if it's a success or a failure. If it's positive, great, we can roll it out to everybody. Negative, no worries. We can leave it and check the next idea. Our hypothesis was that by adding an announcement bar, we'll increase webinar views. And after a few weeks of testing, running our experiment, the results are in. Thankfully, variant B got us an increase in engagement. That means that Lisa was getting more webinar views over variant A. Not a huge surprise, but good to check. So we wrote our hypothesis, we tested it, and we proved that it worked. Now, on to the next one.
Okay, so we started this presentation by introducing Lisa, who's a hard-working head of web at Tracker. And although she is just a figment of our imagination, we expect some of the challenges she faces will resonate with people in the room or with your clients. Because when it comes to growth, there are hundreds or thousands of ideas you could try on your website. But the key takeaway is you can't just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. You need a process to drive website growth. So we've walked you through our process to find relevant ideas that will drive growth on your website. Starting off with H, you hunt for the right ideas. You get inspired, then you step into your user's shoes. Next up, you put them in order so you know where to start. And finally, P, you prove your ideas so that once you start implementing them, you know that they're working. If you're interested in trying to follow this process for yourself and you're at the beginning of your journey and you want to get inspired, one source of inspiration is our growth hacks library, which is called flowgrowth.club. So we've compiled a list of our favorite tactics. You've seen some of them earlier in the presentation. Put your email address in, it's free, and we're going to be releasing new ideas every few weeks. We've only just launched it, but we've already had some good feedback. And that's us.
That's basically it. Before we finish, we very rarely get a chance to stand up and say thank you. So we want to say thank you to Jimmy, shout out Jimmy, for helping us with the content. It means a lot. Thank you very much to Amelia on the team, who created our lovely slides and our mock-ups. Thank you to the Webflow team for being gracious enough to let us come and speak today. And thank you to everybody here. Cheers.
We've got a few minutes left, so we can hop into some questions if anyone's got anything they want to ask. Hey, Jack.
Do you guys do this process with every client? I know you guys are working with enterprise clients right now. So maybe.
Hey guys, great talk. Do you guys do this process with every client, regardless of the size? I know you're working with enterprise clients, and I assume that is this a real example of a client that you've done this with? I know Lisa is made up, but so this is like you're doing this with everyone.
Yeah, we follow this process with a number of our clients, particularly those on retainer. So after the initial launch, often we say, okay, how can we get even more out of this website? Or sometimes clients will come to us with that mission of, we want to increase growth. We've got a real drive on conversion this quarter. Have you got any ideas? Rather than just throw some random ideas at the wall, we take them on the journey, do a nice workshop, and yeah, we've used this with a few enterprise clients.
And this is like you're doing work with clients on retainer. So you offer design and build, and then you're like, by the way, we're actually really good at.
Sometimes. Yeah, and obviously we can do this process as part of the initial build if we're starting from scratch, but sometimes maybe we take over an existing website and they say, it's all right, it looks quite nice, but it's not really moving the needle on growth, so that's where we can come in and help boost traffic engagement conversion.
Yeah, we get loads of briefs in which are like, we want a new website, and one of the requirements is it must have more conversions than the old website. And we're like, okay, but you can't just redesign it visually and expect that to drive a boost in conversion. So, and this is it's a workshop, it's a one-day workshop, so it's a great way to kickstart sort of any web project, really.
Hi.
I really loved everything you guys were talking about, and it's clear that you put a lot of thought into like the workshop and thinking about how the ideas will actually drive results. Do you ever get to like the end of the process and the client's like, "That's great, I love exit attempt pop-ups, but instead of that high priority item, I still want you to change all of my buttons to like be neon pink, just to like, how do you fight that like feedback from the client? Like, do you just insert your expertise, or do you just say, let's try it and watch you fail kind of thing?
I've got an answer. Have you got an answer?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We're working with our clients as partners, and they've got often a lot of the industry and client-specific expertise. So we're not going to steamroll them by saying, pink's gross. If you want to try it, by all means, but we'd encourage them maybe to test it. So you don't have to do this whole process completely end-to-end in a silo. We can say, you've got your idea, let's do a bit of experimentation around it. If we're starting fresh and maybe a client doesn't really know what to do next, the end-to-end process is great. We can also kind of cherry-pick parts of it. But often we run lots of different kind of work streams at once. We're doing different experiments kind of at a similar time, so there's room to do lots. Yeah.
I think it's a good point you raised though, because a lot of the content around A/B testing, growth hacking, boosting growth on websites that's out there is very much like, here's a great idea that's proven to work. You should do this. If you do this, it will work.
Red CTA.
And so we get clients saying stuff like that, like, well, I saw this influencer posted this that I need to make my CTAs pink, and it's going to work. But it's contextual, and it depends if it's relevant to your business. So, yeah, we do get those kind of requests. We're quite good at fielding them, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Ollie, and then.
I'm just curious about the journey that you guys took to actually get to this point where you have this framework, because obviously in itself, I imagine there might have been some experimentation, some trial and error about forming, a framework around this, a system. So.
We made it up this morning, yeah.
Do we do those slides really quickly?
There's like a pretty common user-centered design process that the likes of IDEO and all the big service design agencies use for developing services. So we kind of took a fairly well-known user-centered design process and boiled it down to be specifically about marketing sites. So there's books by IDEO and resources out there around user-centered design methodologies. So I think we can't take credit for the techniques we're using, but I think we've been doing them our whole careers, so it just made sense for us to boil it down. And we just love getting out of the office, so any excuse to do like an in-person workshop is like a massive driver for us. So yeah, if we can figure out some excuse to get clients in a room with sticky notes, then we're happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was there another question over here?
Yeah, so for the part where you prove the ideas, how much traffic do you need in order to know that it's relevant, right? Because smaller sites, maybe it's not worth it to do an A/B testing, but maybe you need bigger sites. I don't know, I wonder that.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of a slightly cop-out answer, but how long is a piece of string? Like, how much traffic do I need? How long should I run the test? How many tests can I run at once? There's a lot of these kind of, best practice. You need to have thousands of hits. You need to run it for weeks and weeks and weeks. I think within reason, kind of most testing is better than no testing. And to be honest, most of the scale that our clients are at means they are getting that level of traffic. But it's worth experimenting. Like, try it out and see if the results are useful. It may be that, if you get on a site that gets 10 hits a day, maybe it's not going to be super statistically significant. But I would give it a go, and particularly for those bigger clients who are driving for growth, we tend to see enough traffic to validate this. Yeah.
And yeah, by this point, we're fairly confident the idea is going to work anyway. So it's really just validating our assumptions by that point. So a small data set is kind of okay.
Do you put all of the same ideas in practice for clients with high ticket selling? If they're selling projects, or if they're selling not just like a sign up?
No, I think they vary. They vary very much depending on client industry, depending on value of product or service, depending on the persona of the person we're expecting to come to the site at any given point, without repeating ourselves. That's why doing that activity, doing the user journey thing, thinking about your persona is really key, and you can't just take any idea off the list. It's a great start, kind of looking at inspo, but then you've got to really figure out which are the best ones for you and your client. Yeah, so it varies.
Great talk, guys. Have you had a chance to try the new Webflow Optimize, and what kind of excites you most about it?
Yes, we have. Very much kind of in sandbox mode. We haven't put it on any client sites yet. I think for me, personally, the biggest win is the integration inside of Webflow. It sounds minor, but I think a lot of the clients we work with are just kind of a bit overwhelmed with tool fatigue and like having to swap to VWO or Optimizely and then kind of link up attributes and classes. Like, oh, it's a faff. I think the fact that you can do it inside that one web experience platform is a really good selling point. I think a lot of our clients will be pretty excited to try it out. Yeah.
Nice.
Any other questions? Jack?
Sorry, I'm being greedy with questions, but can I just ask one more thing?
Yeah.
So for a lot of people in this room, they might not be working with enterprise clients. Do you still recommend going through a framework and like just testing that regardless if it's like a 5K client or like...
Yeah.
And would you recommend doing that as like an upsell thing, or is that like you're just giving them 200% service to help them after you've done the design and build to like maximize the result of the website?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it kind of depends on appetite from your client. The fact that they're on enterprise or not doesn't mean anything. Like, it's just they've chosen to prioritize this particular feature over that, or this particular investment in Webflow over that. So I don't think which tier of Webflow they're on really matters. It's more about kind of the stage they're at as a business and what their priorities are. And if growth is a priority, then I think this is helpful.
I also think for the freelancers and agencies in the room, like a process like this, if you don't go all the way through to the implementation and testing, but just the beginning of the process, it just builds you a great backlog of ideas and things you can try. And plus, your clients are always looking for what can we do next? And it's great to have something up your sleeve where you can go, here's 10 ideas that we're very confident are going to have an impact. And then that's your next project sold. Yeah.
Nice one. Thanks, guys.
All good?
Cool.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you
thank you,
very much.
everyone.
Cheers.